What's going on, everybody? This is Zephyr Chung with Iris Diecast, and today I'm reviewing this 118 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S 996.2 by Maisto. Maisto has made quite a few variants of the Porsche 996. There's the Carrera 4S, the Carrera 4S Cabriolet, the Targa, and the Turbo Cabriolet. You can find this Carrera 4S in red, black, or silver. I've purchased this model a couple of years ago for $15. But in Korea, the Porsche 996 is so unpopular that you can find one in a mint condition with box for around $20. So here is the front of the model. The Porsche is very conservative when it comes to designing the Porsche 911. You can easily see that the 911's design changes very gradually and subtly over the course of generations. It is an exception with the 996 as well. The overall silhouette is similar to both the 993 and the 997, but the headlamps makes it feel very disparate from the common image of the Porsche 911. It's not the common oval-shaped headlamp. Instead, this car uses some kind of gloved-shaped headlamp, which some Porsche enthusiasts were not too happy about. Speaking of the headlamps, Maisto has done an excellent job with the headlamps. There's no pegs of any kind, and they express the patterns in the bulbs excellently. And the bezel is cleanly colored, and the lamp cover isn't too thick, so it's really nice looking. And considering how this is an older Maisto model, I think they've done a really great job with the headlamps. The Porsche shield is just printed onto the car, and all the grills are open, which means that you can see through it, which is again a big surprise. Oftentimes, Maisto cars use a single piece of blocked plastic and all the lines are straight, which might seem obvious, but oftentimes cheaper cars have crooked lines, so this is a really neat surprise. And another neat surprise was that the gap between the main body and the opening parts is pretty small, so the car is pretty clean, and they've surprisingly finished this car well, or at least up front, they finished the car well. And you can open the trunk, and being a rear engine car, the trunk is up front, and it's a typical Maisto trunk with cheap black plastic. They took the effort of painting that cap over there white. Nothing too interesting over here. And here is the side of the model. Unfortunately, the side indicator over here is just painted onto the bumper, and they've done a really poor job as well. Like I said, it's in my earlier videos, Maisto cars have a very thick paint job, which kind of covers up the body lines, and that is most explicitly seen in parts like the door handle over here and the sunroof and the gas cap. So all these lines are a little bit covered due to the thick paint job. And the front of the model was unusually finished well, but the side of the model is undoubtedly a common Maisto, as you can see. They've painted the window edges in black, and can't get a view of it. It's not very cleanly painted. You can see that the lines are a little bit blurred. And the rims are really well made. Barago's 996.2 Turbo has some shiny, unrealistic rims, but this one's a lot better. They've done a really nice job with the brake pads and the disc brakes as well. You can even see the Porsche lettering on the disc brake over there. They've done a really nice job with the rims. Of course, you can open the doors, but like many Maisto models, the opening angle is very small, so you can hardly get a view inside the interior. I have no idea how hard it is to make the door angle bigger, but I just can't understand this tiny little angle. The interior is pretty hastily made. Um, it's just finished in black, nothing too fancy. Put a sticker for the cluster and painted some of the parts. And speaking of the interior, as I said earlier, the Porsche 996 was kind of a revolutionary model in the 911 history. The design changed, the engine changed, and one of the small details that also changed was the steering wheel. Instead of the traditional 4-spoke steering wheel, the 996 uses a 3-spoke, um, which was due to safety regulations and airbags and all that. And here is the view from the passenger side. The seats are actually quite well made. They are plastic, but it's not the common, cheap-looking typical Maisto seats. They've done the seat belts as well. I think it's due to the fact that the seats are pretty thin on this car. That kind of keeps it from looking like a toy. I kind of like it. And here is the rear of the model. You can see quite a few shortcomings. The assistant brake lamp over there, they did use a separate plastic part instead of just painting it on, but the surface lines around it, they're very rough. The air vent up here is completely blocked, so it's part of this frame here. And unlike the front of the model, the opening parts gap over here, it's not very well finished. You can see that the lines are very explicit, but which is quite common on cheaper cars like this one. And the rear lamp isn't as nice as the front of the model. It doesn't use the common dot-shaped peg like most Maisto cars do. Instead, as you can see, it uses some kind of rod-like thing to keep the rear lamp in place, which is new, but I think it's a bad idea. And I think there are 2 layers for the headlamp. So this is not a single piece. I think the red part and the silver part is a separate 2-piece. And they've painted the upper edges of the headlamp in silver, which I really can't understand because it looks really cheap. And they've carved out the lines over here, and they've painted in black. Of course, up close it doesn't look too good, but from a distance it looks pretty good. It kind of looks like the hole is really deep instead of just slightly carved out. The exhausts are finished in chrome, like most Maisto cars, which I'm not too happy about. I think it's too flashy and cheap looking. The 996 is one of the more unpopular Porsche 911s. Maybe it's the only unpopular Porsche 911. One of the reasons is that the headlamps, which I've mentioned earlier, and another reason is the engine. Instead of the traditionally used air-cooled engines, which dates back to the 356, it uses the new water-cooled engines, and of course there are many reasons to why Porsche abandoned the air-cooled engine. First of all, it was difficult to improve the fuel efficiency and performance on the traditional water-cooled engines, and decisively the new environmental regulations regarding noise and exhaust fumes made it difficult to maintain the water-cooled engines. The engine is in a single piece of plastic, like most Maisto cars. Overall, the whole plastic is a little bit blurred, if you know what I mean. Like the lines over here and the parts, the lines, they are not very distinct, let's say. And they did take the effort of painting some of the parts and caps and all that in color. And although it's not anything near detailed, but personally I think it looks alright from a distance. Maybe it's because the engine room is so small on this car. Nothing too fancy on the bottom of the car. They did express all the parts in this piece of plastic, and you got the exhaust over there. It's not fancy compared to most Maisto cars. Maisto cars not usually put a lot of effort into the bottom of the car, which I don't really care about. After all, you don't turn your cars backwards a lot of times. So in South Korea, the model of the Porsche 996 is also unpopular, just like its real life counterparts. You can find them on sale for a very low price. Over here, the Auto Porsche 996 Carrera goes for around $60 used. So honestly, there's no reason to buy the Maisto version here. However, if the Auto version isn't available or cheap in your region, I don't think the Maisto version is a bad choice. It has amazing front detail and you have many variants to choose from. I believe Brago has also made the 996.2 Turbo, but it uses a completely different casting from the Maisto version, and personally I think this is a lot better. So that'll be all. My review on the 118 Maisto Porsche 911 Carrera 4S 996.2. And thank you so much for watching, and be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel, and see you all of you later.